How do everybody? I'm going to be doing a little bit of hate reading of a newspaper. It's something I haven't done for quite a while, and from time to time I do like to indulge in a little bit of it. And don't worry, that beeping then was my device here. That's not your device making that noise. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. For anybody who doesn't know, I am a massive proponent of the reintroduction of the death penalty. I won't go into it too deeply, but I don't just think it should just be death penalty for everybody. It should obviously be very, very controlled, and only when it's absolutely irrefutable. But I do believe here that this case that we have got, it would be an excellent example, not only for necessarily maybe for this individual, but for the problem that this has in this case and helping these sorts of people to change their mind. So here's the headline of the story. Bogus Albanian asylum seeker who raped a schoolgirl cannot be stripped of his British citizenship after bungling officials disregarded evidence proving he lied about fleeing a war zone. Well, first and foremost, if this man was going to be threatened with a death sentence and he knew that it was an upcoming possibility, I would guarantee a pound to a pinch of poo that he would get on the first available flight back to his country of origin. Secondly, when this says that they cannot do anything about it because they bungled it, I call BS on that, because I'm telling you now, politicians and the civil service, all of them, they can move heaven and earth when they goddamn well please it, can't they? I saw it with my own two eyes during the big Brexit process. Whether you like Brexit or not, whether you voted for it or not, that's a moot point. The point I'm on about is I saw it with my own eyes where politicians and the House of Lords were changing rules and laws and even parliamentary precedents like that overnight. So believe you and me, when they want to, they absolutely freaking can change whatever they want and do whatever they want when they actually want to. We also saw it with lockdown as well, didn't we? How many people 10 years ago, if you went back in a time machine, or let's say, even better, let's say somebody woke up from a coma. They've been in a coma for 10 years. And if you asked them, before you asked them anything, you just said, listen, mate, do you think the government would ever be able to lock the entire country down for a cough, a bad cough? They'd probably turn around and say something like, mate, there'd have to be like a 50% fatality rate or something like that. I mean, come on, that was what I used to say. You know, words to the effect of, you'd be talking like 3/4 or even 25% mortality rate. Not for about a 1.5% mortality rate. It's absolutely shocking. Whether you agree with me or that or not, I don't think it was worth locking the country down for, personally. But that aside, within a week, the entire institutions had turned the country around and got everybody locked in their homes, and they were arresting people within a week. That totally turned the country upside down on its head. So again, when they want to do something, they absolutely can do it, and you better believe it. So anyway, I've absolutely prattled on quite a bit with that little rant, so let's get on with this story. A bogus asylum seeker who raped a schoolgirl and cannot be stripped of his British citizenship due to bungling officials. Absolute BS, as I've just said. They can do it, they just don't want to. I can't even pronounce his name. It's just basically a bunch of consonants and one vowel in the middle of it. So I'm not even going to attempt to. And you know what? I don't want to say that filthy man's name anyhow. He's 52. Absolute nonce. Reason to bring back well, I'm going to hold back a little bit because I don't know just how guilty he is. Maybe I'm slightly wrong. Maybe. But I've got a feeling he is full on guilty here. And I think this is going to be an open and shut case as well. Claimed to be fleeing war-torn Kosovo when he arrived in the UK in 2000 and has lived on handouts ever since. But after his rape conviction, it emerged that he was in reality one of hundreds of Albanians who had falsely claimed to be Kosovan to win refugee status. I mean, that in and of itself is a reason as well to bring back flogging. So these people who lie about this, not only for the fact of trying to get into the country illegally, as they have done on a lie, but the mockery of the system who've gone through them actual wars and the victims of them wars, they make a mockery of that, and it's disgusting. Disgusting to decency and right-thinking sensibilities of the average citizen. So people like that should be publicly flogged to make an example of them. And anybody who thinks I'm saying that just for effect, I absolutely am not. I 100% think that people should be flogged for things like that. That is just disgusting. Absolutely unacceptable that people should be engaged in that. And once again, once you start flogging people like that, straight away, bomb burst. It'd be like opening a door into a room that's full of rats or cockroaches and flicking the light switch on. Poof! They'll be gone. Straight away. The Home Office attempted to revoke his British passport so he could be kicked out after his 6-year prison term. But I tell you what, if I cocked up and I wasn't and I had been to prison, they'd soon take my passport off me. No messing. Absolutely none whatsoever. And if they made a mess of it originally, they'd go back and fix the problem and then come back for my passport afterwards, because that's what they do with people like me, indigenous people to these islands. We don't get this special treatment. It's quite racist, really, when you think about it like that these people get a special privileged position where they don't get the system coming back at them again and again and again to correct the mistakes, as they will do with everybody else. However, officials had suspected as early as 2005 that he'd been granted refugee status under a false identity. That should just be flogging instantly. When you're found to be lying about something like that, 10 lashes, and then kicked out of the country. Cat o' nine tails as well, just to be very specific. Yet they had failed to take action. Now an immigration tribunal has concluded that it would be unfair or F off. Who the hell is... I mean, these immigration officials as well, they need to start getting lashed as well for these stupid decisions. This is just... It absolutely boils my blood, this. These people, in my opinion, are absolute traitors, and we need to start passing laws and treating these people as the traitors that they are. To strip him of British citizenship when evidence available almost 20 years ago was disregarded. I couldn't care if it was 50 years ago. I don't care if he's been here on a lie and he's lied about something as serious as being a refugee. Flog him and flog everybody who's allowed him to stay in the country and everybody who's defended him. Well, no, not everybody's necessarily defended him, because they do have a legal duty to represent everybody. But how they defend them, that should be looked into, because they don't necessarily have a duty to necessarily keep somebody in the country. They should also be thinking of what's in the best interest of the country. You know, so like if you have somebody who's a murderer and it's obvious that they are a murderer, their legal defence should be saying to them, look, mate, you're a murderer, and you should be admitting to this and being honest about it. You know, and really they have a duty. Now, again, I'm not a legal expert, and I'm sure there's plenty of legal eagles who will be looking at it saying, no, Dave, they can't do that for X, Y, and Z reasons. But you know what? I don't care. I'm from the outside looking in, and I see that as a massive flaw and a problem. I think all people who are working within the legal system should have a duty towards society as a whole, as well as the client, and what's good for the entirety of society. Well, the decision is likely to horrify his victim and her family. I think that would be an understatement of the century. Audi driving letter salad was unapologetic when confronted by the Daily Mail. Yeah, well, he'd flog him. Just flog him till his back's red raw and bleeding. He boasted, I'm all right. I've got no worries here. I came to the UK because I wanted a better life and I found it. I like it. I'm sure he does like it. I'm sure he has a better life because he gets to rape people and he doesn't get executed for it. And he gets given everything for him and he doesn't have to worry about getting deported. Don't get that back home, does he? Can come over here. He can rape, he can pillage and he can plunder, and then he can get a council house as well. Why doesn't he like it? What's not to like? This really does boil my blood. And this is why I keep saying as well, this is why the army can't get recruitment. This is why they are failing to recruit people. Because what you're going to be fighting for if you volunteer for the military is you're defending people like this. Invaders coming to this country and raping our daughters, our sisters, and our friends, our aunties and our mothers. And then they get put up in hotels, 5-star hotels, and given council houses. And that's what you'll be fighting and dying for that. Why would you want to do that? Madness. This is absolute madness. And this is another reason as well why firearms need to be legalised, and it needs to be lawful that you can kill people like this in self-defence, and that the state will fully back up victims from perverts and nonsense like this. Unacceptable. Our government has completely reneged in its first and primary responsibility and duty, which is the care of its citizens. We are the subjects of the king. And that in the past, kings got their heads cut off for not defending their subjects from foreign invaders and not doing the duty. What the hell is going on with this crap right now? Winds me up. Word Salad said he believed he has a right to stay in the UK. Well, of course he feels that because the Human Rights Act gives it to him, doesn't it? And all these lefty lawyers and all these bleeding arts types defend nonsense like this. Oh, well, he'll get persecuted back home. I couldn't give a rat's anus if he gets persecuted back home. Let him get persecuted. He deserves it. I hope they put him in a cell with Leroy and then he ends up with a bumhole like a yawning hippo. There are lots of bad people there, he added, without a hint of I couldn't care less. Genuinely couldn't care less. Despite that, he plans to visit his elderly mother and other relatives in Albania once his new UK passport arrives. And there's the cream on top of the cake. Not only can't we get rid of him, but he can come and go as he pleases. It's like a burglar coming back to your house and walking through your front door with a copy of your key going, I'm just coming for your telly now, mate. I'm just going to take your telly and I'll be back for your PlayStation afterwards. Oh, don't you worry. Thank you very much, pal. Insult. Salt into wounds, this. Absolute salt into wounds. Alt Mehmet, chairman of Migration Watch UK, condemned our word salad and managed to exploit loopholes and go on to commit such a horrendous crime. It's not even loopholes. Loopholes implies that it's like some sort of like hidden technicality. I mean, this is just like open knowledge in all migration circles and all lawyers and people who work in this sort of crap. It's not. This isn't loopholes at this point. This is just the system operate. And again, I'm not a legal expert, but one thing I do understand, and this is, and the reason why I know this is to do with public right of way. A public right of way becomes a public right of way once people have been walking over it for so long, and it becomes an established known route. I can't remember the full details about it, but it's why you have all these like farmers' fields where people can just walk through them, but only along a very specific point. And you get the same thing in law as well. So, like, for example, with the government allowing all these illegal invaders to come over the channel, that will end up becoming legal precedent eventually because it will become normalised in law to the point of where they can just do it and previous law will just get disregarded. And that's what a lot of this has happened with this as well. It's just become legally normal to the point of where they're not breaking any laws anymore. In theory, you could actually make rape legal. If enough rapes were just allowed to happen and they never got investigated, rape would just fall off the statute books as a crime. You know, that's effectively what's happening here with these. And I think, again, I'm going off topic here a little bit, but I think a lot of this comes down from the McPherson inquiry, which happened after Stephen Lawrence. I'm not going to go into it too deep here, but basically the McPherson inquiry, my understanding is that it put it into law that different groups of people do need to be treated differently. And it's my opinion is why we're seeing all this two-tiered policing and why things like the grooming gangs were actually covered up by the police, because I believe that McPherson actually means they have to engage in that sort of behaviour, as crazy as that sounds. I know it sounds wild saying it, but I do believe that McPherson is actually the root of a lot of the problems with this as well. I'm gonna leave it at this because I've gone on for nearly 13 minutes now. I actually feel like I'm going to burst a blood vessel because it's getting me blood pressure up that much. Like this, it absolutely winds the living effluent out of me. I'll put the link below if you want to read the full story. It's just infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. As I say, bring back the death penalty. Even if this man is, let's say they were 95% certain that he'd done it, so you shouldn't be killing somebody on that. That's fine. But if you bring in the death penalty, people like him will run. They will leave the country because they will not want to risk that future evidence coming in and proving them 100%. And that is absolutely why we need to bring back the death penalty. And people like him taking the Michael out of asylum process for their own personal enrichment, flog them to within an inch of their life. And I don't care about the human rights lawyers and what they think about it. Genuinely couldn't care less. And I couldn't care less about people like him. Scum. We need to get rid of them. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for your time. If that's giving you something to think about, please do like, subscribe. Absolutely put comments below. I love reading people's comments. Whether you agree with me, whether you don't agree with me, I love reading them all. I do try to get back as quick as I can to comments as well. And I am not a closed book, by the way. I'm willing to change my mind on things if you can provide a strong enough argument against me. I'm not like absolutely rigid in my beliefs. I'm just yet to find anybody who can convince me otherwise. Anyway, beyond 14 minutes now, I'm definitely going. Thank you. Goodbye.